Empire. More wild and wacky action in week 4 of the NFL, and a quarter of the season is in the books. We're starting to learn quite a bit about the landscape of the league and what we can expect throughout this 2019 season. This is the Football Jones Podcast. We're going to hear from Cleveland Browns defensive back Demarius Randall after their big win over the Ravens. Going to talk to my good buddy Mark Maske from the Washington Post about the Ravens and Browns game, what it means for the AFC North, and how the AFC as a whole is starting to shape up, and some other questions that linger about this league and different matchups. We're going to get to it all. Thanks for coming back, everybody. Like I said, week 4 of the NFL is now in the books. We've got real clarity starting to come to the picture, and that's what you want. When coaches talk to their teams, they divide the league and the season up into 4 quarters. The first 4 weeks is when you're really starting to define yourself and build that cohesion and figure out where you are. The second and third quarters are where you want to start positioning yourself. And then the fourth quarter is where you take care of business and hopefully build that momentum you want to ride into the preseason. And so now, after 4 weeks, we're starting to see where this thing is shaking out. And like I said, we're going to talk to Demarius Randall because the Cleveland Browns came into Baltimore on Sunday with a lot of pressure. Remember, they had a lot of hype surrounding them after the offseason where they won 7 games last year. They added more firepower this offseason, and people thought they were going to be real contenders. Well, they stumbled out the gates. They are 1-2, and the questions about Freddie Kitchens' ability to lead the team, the questions about Baker Mayfield, and some people were already starting to call him a bust. And, you know, they tuned out the noise, they put their heads down, and they came to work, took care of business in Baltimore, winning 40-25, a huge win for them. And so I wanted to catch up with one of the guys in the locker room to get a feel for their mindset and how that week of preparation unfolded and what they take away from that win. So here we are. Let's listen to my conversation with safety Demarius Randall in the visitors' locker room there at M&T Bank Stadium. What does this do for you guys, getting a win like this? There was a lot of pressure coming in, a lot of criticism, questions, but to get this win, how does it feel with y'all?
Honestly, I mean, we go into every week expecting to dominate, expecting to put up a lot of points, expecting to get a lot of turnovers, because this team is built to win on offense, defense, and special team. I mean, I feel like we got a complete team, and we just kind of went out there and just showed it today, and we just dominated on all phases.
What was the key to remaining patient, but also digging in like you did this week and not panicking, because on the outside people, start asking questions, but you guys were able to put your heads down and work harder?
I mean, we just knew coming into the season that, like, obviously, whether or not we start off good, bad, or even decent, I mean, people is going to talk. And because we got a lot of high-profile players, and people want to talk about those guys. So, obviously, we're going to be in the media a lot more than other teams. But we just knew coming into this season that we're going to stick together no matter what, good, bad, or whatever you want to call it. But, I mean, we just knew we just continue to just keep fighting and just continue to stick with the plans that we go throughout the week. That we're going to start clicking. The plays are going to start coming to us. Guys are going to stop getting as many penalties, start getting the ball. And, I mean, that's just kind of what we kind of put together, a complete game today. And, I mean, it just showed today. And, I mean, first place in the North, that feels pretty good right now.
Yeah. Quarter of the season done, obviously 3 more quarters to go, but is this the kind of momentum that you would want to carry into that second quarter?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because the division game is like worth 2 wins, and I mean, right now it's us and the Ravens at the top of the division, so it's like, I mean, that's a big win for us, and we're just gonna continue to try to do the little things and go back and review the film and see the things we can correct. And we got the 49ers on Monday night.
All right, appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. no matter who you talk to in that locker room, a good sign is the fact that everybody is saying the same thing. They're on the same page. Freddie Kitchens really had his first big test as a head coach. He had a team with a lot of pressure on them. Things were starting to get shaky. It looked like maybe they weren't what we thought they were, and they very well could have started dividing. They could have, caved under pressure, but Freddie Kitchens preached to his guys the importance of tuning out the noise, keeping their heads down, and focused on doing their individual jobs. And if they did that, good things would come. Sure enough, they did that. Freddie Kitchens did a better job of game planning and play calling. Baker Mayfield said that he focused on getting his eyes and his feet going in the same direction, so that made his passes more accurate. They had a much better run-pass balance. Nick Chubb going off for 160-something yards and 3 touchdowns. Their defense was very disruptive. Everybody did their jobs, and they got a huge win over the Ravens, and now they're 2-2 with the slim lead in the North. Yes, the Ravens have a 2-2 record as well, but the Browns have the head-to-head tiebreaker. Now, obviously, this is 4 weeks into the season. Freddie Kitchens was not about to say that this was a turning point of the year or anything like that, but it was a big win. And so now we're going to talk to my buddy Mark Maske. Used to cover the Redskins with him for a number of years at the Washington Post. We're going to talk about what this win does for the Browns and what we think of the Ravens now and where they stack up in the AFC, plus some other action around the league. Here's my talk with Mark Maske in the press box there at M&T Bank Stadium after that game in Baltimore. All right, I'm here with my good buddy Mark Maske, former beat teammate at the Washington Post when we covered the Redskins together several years ago. And we are here at Baltimore, who just lost to Cleveland. And I know it's hard to call something a must-win situation, but this is a pretty big win for the Browns. What did you take away from their performance, and what do you think this means for them?
I took away a few things. I think if they had gone to 1-3, the pressure on Freddie Kitchens really increases. The pressure on Baker Mayfield really increases, because at that point you're calling them a bust. Even though it's only a quarter of the way through the season with so much left, you would be looking at a division that was looking like a runaway for the Ravens, in a division that otherwise had 3 bad teams. You look at a lot of people ridiculing the Browns and saying that the expectations going into the season were just off base. But now all of a sudden you've got a race again. You've got a team that's tied for first place, a team that can put all of the things that haven't gone so well in the first quarter of the season kind of behind it and just sort of go on from here. And then now you're looking at probably a 2-team race in this division. So I thought that was big. I thought the way that they won it, this wasn't sort of the Baker Mayfield to Odell Beckham artistry. This was, finding a way around it when the Ravens took Beckham away. This was Beckham getting into a scuffle during the game. This was running the ball with Nick Chubb. This was getting the ball to Jarvis Landry, sort of adapting on offense to what the defense was doing. So I thought it was a very impressive road win for the Browns, and one that changes the narrative at this point, not only on them, but on this division race.
Yeah, I felt like this was a really big test for Kitchens. You're a young head coach. You've never really had this type of experience. He's never been a coordinator before the second half of last season, and he's got to show that he can lead men and put them in positions to win. And here he is, the talk about him not being qualified, Baker being a bust, like you said, all that stuff was stacking against him. You come on the road, you win in blowout fashion. He punched all the right buttons. His message of just putting your head down, tuning out the noise, and going out there and doing your job was really something that translated out here on the field.
And not calling 4th and 9 draw plays.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. He was way more creative as a play caller and play designer this week than what we've seen. And I know that people up there were asking, where's the stuff that we saw last year? They were way more diverse, way more balanced and everything, and he was smarter with his decision making. So I think that helps them. What do you think about the Ravens I'm not really worried about them. Yeah, they would have wanted this win so they could have a little bit of a cushion in their division. But what do you take away from them?
I think it's a little alarming because going into this game, I was looking at them as being just a notch below the Patriots and Chiefs. I mean, I thought we had two teams in the AFC that were clearly superior to anyone else. But based on the Ravens staying competitive with the Chiefs on the road and being right with them and, being a few failed two-point conversions away from having a chance to win that game, I thought we were going to see a Ravens team that was, just half a step behind the Patriots and Chiefs. That's not what we saw at all. You come home in a division game where you really have a chance. I know it's only September, but you really had a chance to kind of make this division race into a non-race, into a runaway. If you're the Ravens, you're 3-1, and the next best team in the division is 1-3. This is going to be it's not going to be a race. I mean, the Ravens will have asserted that they are clearly the best team 1 month into the season, and no one's going to catch them, and they didn't do that. So right now we're not looking at a team that's chasing the Patriots and the Chiefs to be the best team in the AFC. We're looking at a team that's going to have to fight it out with the Browns in probably a two-team race the rest of the way.
And I think, but that's kind of what they really are. They've got new guys on defense, new young faces. They've lost some of their name guys. And they've got a second-year quarterback who's done some good things, but they're still figuring out pieces. I know they got off to an exciting start, but I think that this kind of is probably what they're going to be, this scrappy team that's going to have to fight. And if the Browns are really as good as they should be, then should be a game that they struggled with. But the blowout fashion was bad. There were so many missed tackles and things like that. Their defense has got to be more assertive and I think make more plays to help out that offense because Lamar Jackson just can't do it all.
No, you're right, and that you're right. This is what they are, but I think that the perception of what they are changes because what they could have been if they come out and take care of their business in this game is something totally different. Then you're talking about one of the best teams in the AFC, the third best team in the AFC probably, and you're talking about an MVP candidate in Lamar Jackson. We're not going to be talking about that anymore coming out of this game.
Yeah, okay, so looking to the rest of the league, you were talking about the AFC. The Patriots had a dogfight, but they hold on to beat the Bills. Who's the number 2 team, number 3 team in the AFC, you think now?
It's hard to say who the number 3 team is. I mean, I think we've got 2 teams that have kind of lapped the field. I mean, it's hard for me at this point to see anyone but the Patriots and Chiefs meeting in the AFC title game. Now, I know it's early. I know things can change. I know injuries are going to change things. I know the Patriots were very lucky to escape. They both were very lucky to escape today with very narrow wins. But, on the whole, when the Chiefs get Tyreek Hill back and work back in, and as long as Mahomes is out there doing the things that he does, as long as the Patriots continue to play at this level on defense, Tom Brady is going to figure out something on offense. I don't know who the third best team in the AFC is right now, and not sure it really matters because I think I think the 2 best teams in the AFC are very well established, and barring something really unexpected in my mind, that's what it's going to be again at the end of the year.
What do you make though of the Chiefs that they had to struggle? It was a struggle. They had to come from behind to beat the Lions, which nobody really looks at them as something really imposing, but here they are, a team that has played a couple good teams very tough. Are the Chiefs not as potent on the road, or do you think it's just they ran into a good defense?
I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that's part of it. I think maybe I'm starting to feel that the Lions are better than I thought, and that we've been giving them credit for. I mean, I still just think, Mahomes is going to find a way to do what needs to be done. He's just sort of a transcendent quarterback. He's a guy who's at least going to be in the MVP conversation every single year of his career. He's done some things that we haven't seen, and if they can sort of figure out the small things around him, play a little bit better on defense, eliminate some of the mistakes defensively, help him out a little bit with the running game, he's going to take care of the rest. And as long as he's there and playing at this level, they're always going to be there at the end of the season for the rest of his career, to me.
Yeah, okay, I agree with you. And I guess we're going to find out about the NFC. There's so many questions about the teams. I think the AFC is more clear-cut. The NFC, the Rams are good, but they kind of have some struggles here and there. The Saints, Drew Brees isn't there, so we don't know how they're going to play out. It's going to be interesting to watch. Now, some of the bad teams in the NFC, and one that you and I know pretty well, the Redskins. What should happen there?
You know what should happen? I mean, who knows? I mean, at some point you have to go with Dwayne Haskins as your quarterback and build around him. Now, whether that's this week with the Patriots coming in next Sunday, or if it's the following week when you're playing at Miami, when is exactly the right time? I don't know. Maybe you want to hold back Haskins from having to face that New England defense next Sunday. But at some point within the next few weeks, Haskins has to be your quarterback. Who's your coach? Does it really matter who your coach is this week or for the next few weeks? Over the long haul, Jay Gruden is not going to be the coach there. We know that. The next coach is going to have to be picked based on who can make things work for Dwayne Haskins. That's really the question. And I know we always hear when the Redskins go about changing coaches, who would take that job? They're never going to get anyone to take it. And that never turns out to be the case. Look, it's one of 32, and there aren't going to be 32 available. It's going to be one of 6 or 7 or 8 available by the time we get to the offseason. It's going to pay well. You're going to have a good young quarterback. So they'll find someone. They just have to be careful and find the guy who they think is best suited to making it work with Haskins. And, if history is any guide, it will end up being the wrong guy, and it won't work out. That's what we've seen over and over with the Redskins.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with you. Jay's not going to be here. They need somebody that's more of a grinder, somebody with more accountability, somebody that's more of a tone setter. I don't think that there's anybody on this roster, on this coaching staff, that is that. I know people hear about Kevin O'Connell and, they wonder if he's the next Sean McVay, but there's not a lot of Sean McVays out there. And I feel like they can't look at this roster and be like, oh, Bill Callahan or Kevin O'Connell, could turn this over. They would have to get a really veteran defensive coordinator like a Wade Phillips, who's not leaving the Rams, to team with him. And you can't just think that because it worked for somebody else, it's going to work here, because nothing suggests that this team is ready to just put a young guy in there and put a good defense with him, and you're going to be okay, because still so many holes on this team.
But that's the question you have to answer for yourself. What do you think of Kevin O'Connell? And do you think he's the next guy in the mold of Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, who you've already let get away?
Do you hear many people talking about Kevin O'Connell?
I do. I mean, I think he's well regarded. I think people think that he has potential. But is he? Can you put him into that category? If you're the Redskins, he's in your building, and you have to be able to make that assessment, and you have to be able to be right about it. And they've been wrong on these other guys, and they've let these other guys leave while they have stuck with Jay Gruden, and now they're close to deciding whether it's this week or sometime soon or not until after the season. Clearly, they're going to decide that he's not the guy for them, and they're going to move on. So really, whether you get through the rest of the season with Bill Callahan or you go to Kevin O'Connell now, eventually, by the time you put your permanent next head coach in place, you have to make your own decision internally on whether Kevin O'Connell is the young guy in the mold of these other guys like Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur. Is he a guy in that mold that you can't allow to get away and can't allow another one to get away? You have to decide that up or down. Really, that to me, that will be sort of the crucial question that the Redskins need to answer as they launch this coaching search, whenever they do launch it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Anyway, I know you got to get going. I got to get right and hit my deadline here, but I appreciate your insight, and I know we're going to be talking more about this stuff as the rest of the season goes on.
Thank you, Jonesy. Good to sit by you again at a game.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. All right, and that was Mark Maske. You can follow him at, was it Mark Maske? Is that it, right?
Yeah,
it's just at Mark Maske, WashingtonPost.com. And, of course, get the Dead Tree, the old, print edition. You can read that, too. But always knows his stuff. Always good to catch up with him. And when we come back, we're going to hear from, talk about a little more things from around the league as they unfolded in Week 1. All right, so that was my talk with Mark Maske. Always good catching up with him. I feel like every time I talk to him, I learn a lot from him. I learned so much from him about covering the league as a whole when I was there on the Redskins beat at the Washington Post. He's been doing this a long time, has really good insight and instincts, and just a guy full of knowledge. So if you aren't already following him, make sure you keep up with this coverage at the Washington Post. Like I said, that was a crazy week because we had the Thursday night game with the Eagles and Packers coming down to the wire. We saw the Lions really make the Chiefs sweat. The Chiefs had to come from behind to win. We saw more dominance from the Patriots. We saw the Raiders get an upset win over the Colts. We saw the Titans go on the road and get an upset win over the Falcons. There are real questions about the Falcons now. They are not looking like a team that can make a push or threaten anyone in their division there. We've got to get to the bottom of some things there, why their offense is not working when they've got plenty of weapons and a very talented quarterback, but something is not right there. We saw the Panthers pull off an upset over the Texans on the road. The Chargers got a win over the Dolphins in blowout fashion. No surprise there, but I thought Josh Rosen did some good things. But nobody had the bigger upset than the Buccaneers. Who had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to LA to blow out the Rams 55-40? Certainly not me. Look, I know upsets are possible every single week when you step on the field. They're tough matchups. There are no easy games. Even the Dolphins games are a challenge. The score might not reflect it, but players do have to work hard. Coaches have to coach hard to get those wins. But the Bucs went out there and they were prolific. Jameis Winston with one of his best games ever. If you are the Bucs, it's a great boost for them because you have confidence for that young team as they're still learning their coaching staff and the way they want to do things. A great job by Todd Bowles in that defense, forcing Jared Goff into multiple turnovers. Great job by Byron Leftwich positioning his offense and Winston for a 55-point day. That is just something you never saw. Now the question is, how can they respond? Do they build on this or not? Was it a fluke? I don't know. We're going to find out. The Rams, I still think that they're one of the elite teams of the NFC, but they need some work on their defense. They played well in Cleveland on defense. Their offense was not, was a little disjointed. They've got some tweaking they've got to do. Yes, we hear about the Super Bowl hangover. I still think the Rams have a good shot of winning their division, but they are now looking up at the 49ers, who were off, but they are the undefeated team in the division there. The Seahawks got a win in that division. So this is going to be very competitive to watch over the next several weeks there. Another team with an upset, the Jaguars, on the road. I know the Broncos were undefeated, but they're playing at home. The Mile High is a tough place to play, but the Jaguars and Gardner Minshew continues to just defy the odds, leads his team to a victory there. And then how about the Saints winning at home? A defensive struggle, 12-10 over the Cowboys. Like I said before, I felt like Teddy Bridgewater was going to be able to help them stay afloat. He avoided mistakes. Yes, he does a lot of checking down, but he gets the ball out of his hands, avoids disastrous situations. But they have a very good defense, and that defense is what's really going to help them remain among the ranks of the contenders until Drew Brees gets back. And that's why I think the Saints still have a chance to win this division. And when Brees is back, make a deep playoff run. We'll see if they can make it to the Super Bowl or not. But that team, they're showing they are more than Drew Brees. They are very well coached. And so that's some of the things that we can take away from Week 4. It's going to be interesting to see how the second quarter of the season plays out. But hope you've enjoyed this episode. Hope you learned some things from Randall, from Mark Maske. And come back later this week, Thursday. I will be coming to you from Seattle, where I'll be there for that game against the Rams and the Seahawks. We'll see how the Rams bounce back as they go into the road to play their divisional opponent. And we will have, again, picks and predictions about all of the Week 5 action, plus a special guest. Thanks for checking out the Football Jones podcast. Again, read me at usatoday.com. Follow me on Twitter at @ByMikeJones. And don't be hesitant to drop me an email at mjones@usatoday.com. Thanks, everybody. I will talk to you later this week.